Hi, everyone. Thanks again for joining us for another episode of the Q2 podcast sponsored by Penvisio. If you don't know, Penvisio is a small consulting group designed to help nonprofits bridge their gap between their vision and their methods. Basically, we help churches, nonprofits, educational institutions really achieve their goals strategically while leveraging software to help them get them there in the most efficient and effective way possible. I am joined by co-founder Penvisio and co-host John Marshall.
Hey everybody.
And we have a couple of things to talk about today, so we're going to jump right in. One of the biggest things that we've seen this past couple of weeks is the big win for net neutrality. If you don't know, net neutrality is the concept that everyone has equal access to the tubes and the infrastructure and the frames of the internet. And
Mhm.
they were trying to make that into a service. Thankfully, the FCC has decided to keep that as a utility, and so
Mhm.
they won't have any companies trying to monopolize on these tubes and infrastructures and all these things that help us access websites like Netflix and
Yeah.
whatever we're trying to look for.
And
Um,
Hulu's and all those things, and basically they're looking at the internet as a resource like electricity,
yeah,
like water, like if you have oil or something like that, something that basically means that it remains affordable for everyone to participate in the process.
yeah. And I know everyone probably saw some form of internet-based advocacy or efforts to organize people. John, what was your exposure to the whole campaign to save net neutrality? What was your exposure to that? Because I got a whole bunch of stuff in my email, but where'd you get your calls to action?
So I didn't get a lot of things through the email. What I saw was basically through a lot of the websites that I frequent, because I frequent different websites that are all tech related, and all those websites would have some piece discussing what the effects of net neutrality would be, what the effects of if it didn't get passed and it wasn't protected, how people could be affected. And then it also, in their posts, whether it was a blog or whether it connected to another organization's blog, it basically, told us what we can do. And I think it was something similar to what you were saying a little while ago, talking about like FCC, contacting them, emailing them, writing them, things like that. How about you?
Yeah, I actually remember signing up really briefly on through a Facebook post where they got my email through there. I signed up to learn more how I can help it. As pretty much anyone who knows me, even knows us, we're always scouring the internet for new services, new products, new ways to help nonprofits. And I felt like, man, this is super important. I didn't want to, have this happen, and then smaller nonprofits and mid-sized institutions will be hurt by it. So I was like really wanted to stay involved and follow it, and I was pretty blown away by how they use email advocacy as a way to have people to have their call to action and really efficient. Um, I know one of the big ones that I saw, what I noticed, the big takeaways that I had from the whole, I think it was sponsored by demandprogress.org, and I think it was save net neutrality now.org or something like that. And the three takeaways I got from their email campaigns were: one, the subject lines were creative, they were short, they were intriguing, they kind of brought you in, they made you want to click on it. The emails themselves, the content of the email was very short, very to the point, and they were still very casual. They weren't trying to sound, stuffy, official, political. They were very casual in their tone, but yet still made it known that there was a sense of urgency. And then lastly, they used their link strategically. They kept on putting it, and they would insert it in the middle, towards the end, and at the bottom. Which, when you clicked on it, it was some type of call to action that was really, really effective in making it easy for you to call. So I know we mentioned this earlier, John, but so that when I clicked on the link, I was super impressed by this. It said it had a box that says call your local representative now by pressing this
Mhm.
button, and I will click that button. It will ask me to put my cell phone number in there, and right below that there was a script that I can use right from that one screen. And when I inserted that in the number, that demandprogress.org or the whatever advocacy group that was really moving on this set up the website to have a number call me, and when I picked up, it triggered to call a third party. So it conferenced me in automatically. So I didn't have to look for the representative. I didn't have to look for the number. Clicked a button, put in my number, and then I was off and away, kind of, telling people what's up about net neutrality. So that, I think that was a huge factor in making this very successful. And so I wanted to kind of share that with everyone, that if we're going to do anything with advocacy, what's technology's role in advocacy, and how can that help you become more effective and efficient? And I know, John, you wanted to mention something about that, and also an app that you found that was very helpful.
Yeah, just to speak about the advocacy piece. One of the reasons why I think that works so well is because we know how time consuming, or it's not really that time consuming, really how lazy people have become.
Yeah, basically.
And how the easier you make things, the more people you'll get to participate.
Yeah.
And that is one of the things. Like, they made it very easy for you to make that call. I think it was change.org
Yeah.
was one of the sites that I sent something through, and change.org literally has, the script, like you said, written out for you in the email form, and all you have to do is put your email address, and they'll send something on behalf of you from your email address, and it makes it that super quick. And when I was looking at it, it said that the FCC has never received this many responses and this many people reaching out to them, and the representatives and all these things. Like, nope, they're not used to receiving this amount. And at one point, it was believed that net neutrality would be squashed. It would become monopolized and all these things, and there was nothing that could be done because big businesses wanted it, and they had the money. But it shows like grassroots can start a campaign and actually win on the occasion.
I gonna be honest. Even though I was trying to do my part, even though as little of a part that was, this cynic in me was like, this is totally going in the favor of big businesses.
Yeah.
And technically, it's still not over. There's a piece of legislation that's being considered by Upton, and I think the guy's name's Thurman, another representative, who are trying to create some loopholes in legislation. But that's still a big win. FCC has determined it. It's a big win. But I was really cynical that it wasn't going to happen. So I was really pleasantly surprised, and it kind of really put me in check. Like, hey, like, these grassroots things can work. It will work if enough people do it and push back. I know John Oliver, who was on the HBO show this week, tonight or something like that. He had a segment on it, and really had his own call to action to get people to blog on the FCC or leave comments on the FCC page. And actually broke the server and shut it down.
They got
so they had to
15,000 comments or something like that. I think was the number that I saw.
Yeah, something ridiculous. So it's really cool when you tap into a nerve of a population in a way that is emotional. That's an emotional trigger. It's amazing how you do that. Now, what would you say, John? Because you said this. You said something important earlier, that it really goes to this point of people who might be lazy or busy. There's a thin line between busy and lazy. People try to say, "Oh, I'm busy," when they're really just trying to use that excuse to be lazy. But is that the only way should that be the bar for excellent advocacy? If you just create an advocacy campaign or plan that really that's your profile, the laziest person, make it as easy as possible. Do you think that should be like the new bar for organizations?
So this is something that we've talked about before. Meet them where they're at.
Yeah.
I think this plays into that, and I don't always agree with it, but I mean, sometimes it is what it is. And if you want to be successful and you want to get the numbers and you want that success, sometimes I believe you have to meet them where they're at. And yeah, it makes it beneficial if people can literally do a 3-step process in order to, participate. Um, I mean, I would love it if people would, jump through hoops and do different things to make sure it's successful. I think that's why they have the leaders. The trailblazers are the ones who have to, weed their way through the woods and make that easy path for people to go through. So,
Yeah,
I
that's very
mean,
true. Good point. It's the trailblazers, the pioneers in these
yeah.
spaces. And I always like to use that phrase, like it's better to be effective than to be right most of the time. Like we can be right and just say that people have to do X, Y, and Z because it's for the community, or it's for social justice, or because it's right morally.
Hmm.
But the moral imperative isn't always the most moving thing. You have to really strike that emotional tone and make it super easy using other factors for that. So one of those easy factors is an app that you kind of brought to my attention. I vaguely
Yeah.
remember it, but you mentioned it's called iCitizen.
Yeah.
Why don't you talk a little bit about that, John?
It's an app that I discovered probably 2 or 3 years ago. But it's a really powerful, useful application for not only us, but for students and getting students involved. Because students is a huge base. I mean, they're a huge base that I know I have quick access to, and it's about getting them active. This iCitizen app allows you to, enter your information, tell the app where you're located, and it literally gives you the list of all your representatives in that state, gives you a list of your federal representatives. It gives you an ability to select which issues you're actually concerned about. So education, like I pick personally education, employment, uh, there were two other ones that I picked, but those four things I can just go into the iCitizen app and I can see what legislation is in the process of being passed, what things are in the process of being voted on, and I can participate easily from the app. I can send an email to my to my representatives, whether they're federal or state. I can quickly call them, even though I won't get through. I can leave a voicemail. It gives me a lot of access, and it's all in app form. And everybody knows if you don't have an app for that, it's going to be difficult for people to really reach out to you.
Yeah, it definitely is. And what's cool about this too, and I'm trying to pull it up on the screen share, is that you get to track bills even
Hmm.
and track different pieces of legislation too. Contact, yeah, follow issues that you care about, vote in surveys, and influence the legislation that affects you. And they have it for Apple and Android.
This is the Citizens Campaign.
Yeah, no, there's iCitizen.
Okay.
I'm looking at the iCitizens page right now. Right behind it though is the Citizens Campaign. Um,
Yeah.
so before I go into Citizens Campaign though, this iCitizen app, especially for those of us who are working at nonprofits or colleges. I know Johnny, you work at at a university,
Hmm.
and you have students who you want to see get involved. This is a great way to get them started. At least is to get them on this app, really accessible. So I know some schools, some budgets are being released already. I know New Jersey.
Uh, yeah.
Yeah, that's happening now. So if you really want to leverage this is the one to start off with for your students. So yeah, and you can sign up right there, join an email list, get involved. Apple, Android, and is it on the App Store on Amazon too? It looks like it.
Maybe because they have the Amazon Kindle.
Oh yeah, it is. Yep. Wow. So they even went to that length to put on the.
Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty impressive. So, cool. So there's really no excuse, even if you don't have a smartphone,
If you got a
Kindle,
Kindle.
you got to you get to use it. So that's pretty awesome. Um, I know for some that's probably more long term, um, for people who, because that's that could be great for keeping up with issues on the short term and
Hmm.
being responsive and being reactionary with things that are coming out. One thing I thought would be really cool is the Citizens Campaign, which has been, I know, been around for a while. A lot of people don't know about it, but what the Citizens Campaign lets you do is it's very modular in the sense that uh, you get to kind of identify what your personal strengths and passions are and leverage that in a couple of ways that you find might be productive in your community. So their idea is to, as it says here, is provides is a platform of political power tools and trainings for free to get leadership ready citizens who want to work on solutions. So they take the average everyday person who doesn't know too much about local government or government at all, and how do you kind of do with baby steps with trainings online, building small communities, how can you get them to a place where they can get involved? Because a lot of the big things that hold people back is that if they want to get involved politically, the only thing they think about is holding office, running for
Hmm.
office, and
Hmm.
the campaign, and all the negative connotations that come with that. You know what that's like. Where really it's coming about the basics of citizenship or citizen learning trainings. They have, if you like writing, you have citizen journalism that you can learn more about. Um, they have actually coaches that can help you, and even high school leadership civics curriculum too, in case you want to volunteer at a local high school and help younger people get connected. So that is something I thought was really powerful that they have, and they have also meetups too. And once a year, they have a huge event, almost like a conference type thing. My thing too, for those who really are more of a research type person, they have evidence based solutions, and you can kind of they actually help you and draft up bills for your local government and teach you how to present and how to share that with others. And this is just what I want to click on here. They have some things that already work that worked in other cities and towns, and so you pretty much have a template on environment, tree fund, green roofs, all these kind of things, videotaping public meetings, all this kind of stuff going. Pay to play reform, that's a huge one that was in Patterson not too long ago. So that is something that people can check out to get hands-on and get more in depth, because there's a lot of positions in local government that are just not really. You don't have to get voted in. You're more appointed, or you sign up, and there's no one else signing up with you. Then you're selected. You're helping out with like a youth council or that kind of thing. So between iCitizen, the app, and the Citizens Campaign, which is based out of New Jersey mostly, you can really cut your teeth in having a local impact in your community. So that's that. So those are two ways. But another to switch gears a little bit, John, we talked about really getting involved when it comes to no matter what position you hold or what you're doing as a nonprofit. There's always ways to kind of really learn and leverage certain passions or interests. But one of the big barriers is, people think they have to get a master's or a second master's to really get official credentials,
Hmm.
or they have to sit down and spend all their free time reading books. What are some of
Hmm.
the things that, you would talk about to say to those who are busy but still want to grow, still want to really benefit?
I mean, it really depends on what it is that you're trying to learn. But honestly, there are the internet again,
Yeah.
which is a good thing. Yay, net neutrality. Um, there's so many opportunities for people to take advantage of the different products that are out there on the internet for free. I've recently started using this site called lynda.com.
Yeah.
Lynda.com has a lot of resources for, like, I use it for my camera work because I'm trying to get better at using my
DSLR.
camera, my mirrorless SLR. So I'm using that to kind of boost my skills. It has a lot of other things that they teach you on there. You can use websites like Khan Academy, and they're called, what are they called again?
MOOCs.
MOOCs. Yep. Massive.
Massive open online communities.
Yeah, and they're they're useful. You don't have to spend all your time in there because again, we know time is a premium. That's
Yeah.
one of the things that we have learned. But if you schedule time, you can leverage these resources. Is there anything that you're well? I already know what you're big on, but you can let
Yeah,
everybody else.
yeah. Audiobooks are my big thing,
Yeah.
because I have a long commute, and I know there's people out there who have a long commute as well. And lynda.com, by the way, I also use them too. I don't use them enough. Susie, my wife, is like, are you sure you're using that? Because we're spending 25 bucks a month for that. Which, considering the wealth of information on there, it's definitely well worth the price. But I'm not using it as much as I would want to use it, because it's a lot of video learning there. And for my commute, I kind of can't be looking at I have to look at the road, not a video.
Yeah.
What is cool about lynda.com is that even if you're using it on your phone, I noticed this. Um, Even when you kind of lock the phone, if you kind of press play on your lock screen, it can still play the video with audio
Hmm.
only.
Yep.
It's a little buggy sometimes. I know about you, but it kind of like skips a couple tracks sometimes, or replay a track. But for the most part, I thought that was pretty cool to see that even without the video, it's still playing. I could still listen at least. But it's very it's visually intensive, so it's well worth kind of sitting down and watching it on your screen. But audiobooks are helpful because I can actually speed up the time it takes to go through a book by having the person who's reading the book,
Talk
go,
twice as
yeah,
fast.
talk twice
Yep.
as fast. And one of the things I can't stand about some of these self-help books or how-to books is that they spend like half of the book on the problem. Like, I already know the problem. I wouldn't have, bought the book if unless I understood what my problem was. So I would have oftentimes like fast forward the first 2 or 3 chapters and just listen to the meat and potatoes of the how to and the solutions side of things. So Audible is a big one, and I'm just a big fan of webinars and YouTube. And it's even today, or just the other day, I'm still tapping into YouTube for a lot of great content on YouTube.
Like you said, Audible is a good one. I like that one, and I love the fact that depending on what you signed up for, you get a free book
That's
per
true.
month with your membership, and that one free book in itself pays for the membership.
Yeah,
So it's like it's a bonus.
yeah. Well, now these things, the membership. I think the cheapest one is about 14 bucks. Is it for
Uh,
credit?
for for Audible,
Yeah.
I've seen it, but I always see it on special. So there's some where you can get 9.99 a month, or
Okay.
you can get 3 months for $10 or something like that. They're always running specials, so I'm not exactly sure what the monthly rate is.
Yeah.
Um,
I know. Yeah. So definitely catch on special. I know. Regardless, though, people have a problem with spending money on their own investment, on self
hmm
investment, and that is a. What would you say to someone who really doesn't want to cross that line? Like they want the promotion, they want to get better at their job, they want to succeed, but they don't want to spend any money on anything that's worth the educational purpose to what they're trying to do. What would you, what? How can you help, John? How can you help them overcome that barrier to say actually it's worth the money, it's worth the investment, even if it's like $8 a month, 12 bucks a month, 25 bucks a month.
well, okay, there's actually two parts. It's how important is it to you?
Yeah.
One, because it's possible. Like for me, I always find ways that you can do things without spending all of this money. That is possible, but if you want to do it the right way, it just costs. It's an investment in yourself and it's an investment in your future. So for me, it's always worth it because I know personally that my education is worth it. But if you're willing to spend the time and the extra effort um, into not paying for something, I mean, you're going to have to put in time and effort just to not pay it. And then by then you're discouraged and you don't do it anyway. So
Yeah.
it just makes more sense to just be honest up front with yourself give yourself a budget. You spend what, $10 on a movie? You'll spend, you know,
That's like matinee prices now too, like $10. It's more like
yeah,
12, 15 now.
you'll spend what, $3 for a bag of chips that will last you what, a day, and you'll have minimal enjoyment from that bag of chips for that one day, and you'll do that 5, 10 times throughout a month, but you won't spend $20, $30 in a month to, feed your brain
Yeah,
with something that will actually benefit you for the rest of your life. So it's really about finding what's important to you and like admitting and committing to that. Like,
yeah.
this is important, so commit to it.
And to tie it back to like what we talked about earlier about the whole advocacy thing and using technology for that, we have to remind ourselves, especially for nonprofits, like what's at stake here. Especially when it comes to things with budget cuts and limited resources, it's either learn or shut down,
Mhm.
adapt or kind of have a slow and painful run into the ground and kind of close up shop. Um, and I know the tech side of things is a big thing for a lot of nonprofits, especially for anyone who's a little older too, to really capitalize on those things. But it's 2015, and we have ways to learn like never before. Visual, audio. There's meetups. You go to meetup.com and you can sign up for a meetup that can benefit you somehow, some way in whatever area, and that's within probably 10, 15 miles from where you live. And just to kind of came up to mind, even if you don't want to spend money, I didn't know this till a couple, like about 3 or 4 months ago. Local libraries have ways where you can sign up and get ebooks, right on your Kindle or your tablet for free. And you get to
Mhm.
kind of like loan them out on your ebook. So even if there's like you're on a super tight budget, you're a young professional, entry level, you can't really, it's hard to swing it. There's really no excuse not to invest in yourself with audiobooks, books, and those kind of things. And that's pretty cool. And I think the I have to put in the show notes the name of the app that connects your library to your device. But that is something that's kind of could be a game changer for those who don't want to spend. But no matter what, I think you just might as well just jump right in to get those services.
I,
It's huge.
I think each library uses, a different resource. There's a couple of them out there because, like the New York Public Library uses a different one than your local public library. Um, if you have a friend who has access to New York Public Library, take advantage of that friend.
Be
Not
their
take
friend
advantage in a
more.
bad way, but you know, because the New York Public Library is one of the best library systems around that I have ever seen, and they have access to so many different books. There's just so much knowledge that it's hidden behind a cover.
Yeah,
Like, it's not really hidden. All you gotta do is open the daggone book.
yeah.
Take advantage of it and learn.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So for if you're a director, you just have so many hats. We just really want to let you know about ways you can really increase your learning because not everyone has the money or the desire to spend on getting a second master's or a master's, and
Mhm.
they really don't do well with just sit down reading straight through that kind of thing. I know for me, it depends on the book where I can do that, but um, so YouTube, um, MOOCs, like John mentioned, I know one that is very popular is Coursera. There's MIT has some pretty cool
MIT's
courses.
OpenCourseWare
Yeah,
is a beautiful, beautiful thing.
yeah, Audible, webinars. I think the one thing I would say to kind of wrap up is okay, everyone wants to better themselves. Everyone wants to kind of do better with whatever they're doing at work. But unless you schedule it, it's not going to happen.
Hmm.
So talk to your supervisor about scheduling those things. But even not, if you're really trying to make a name for yourself in nonprofit space and make a difference, you're gonna have to invest in your personal time in learning these things, especially if you want to kind of move up in the career ladder where you are. So that's huge. But
And,
scheduling is everything.
and to go off of what you just said, the idea of the webinars and scheduling webinars,
Yeah.
if you're a director, schedule a webinar with yourself and the rest of your staff. Instead of running that staff meeting that one week,
That's a
use
good
that as
one.
a time to review a webinar
That's
and
a good one.
actually learn something that's going to benefit your staff, your organization, and move you guys forward. Because we all preach innovation,
Mm.
yet we don't spend the time learning how to innovate, learning what innovations are going on out there. And a staff meeting is an excellent time to use. We're all together, and it'll take an hour, hour and a half.
And the staff members will thank you for it, because staff
Yeah.
meetings are not always the funnest thing in the world, too. Um, and one more thing to add to that, you know, everyone can say that they're busy, and everyone can say that, oh, we don't have the resources to afford these trainings. Um, and obviously, we just discussed those things that they're not really issues anymore, because there's always a way you can integrate it. But it really comes down to your value system. You can only evolve by learning and adapting, and it's just amazing to see people who try to recreate the wheel all the time, as opposed to just taking a couple hours a month or a week just to invest in these ways to learn these new things and make their life easier. If you want to free up time, you're gonna have to invest some time at first, and that's the big thing. So that's a great suggestion, John, with the replacing a staff meeting, the first staff meeting of the month, or the last staff meeting for a month, or do it. That's awesome. And even if you don't have the time to really coordinate all that stuff or where to begin, delegate a staff member to investigate. And it's sometimes that's the most empowering thing, to get your staff member. They're the ones who are on the field most of the time. They're direct student connects. They can really feel the topics that they want to discuss, and you can just kind of sign off on it or whatever it is. So it really democratizes the process of learning, and you end up coming away with being a winner, in their eyes, probably, if you do that. So great suggestion, John. Again, all the links that we discussed, topics that we discussed, we'll put in the show notes. And we really hope that in this time where budgets are being, spot out. I know South Carolina school systems, their budgets were cut. They're closing that school down for a year. Um, there's a draft to a budget for EOF programs. They're getting a cut.
Yep, 4 point something percent. I forget.
Yeah, yeah.
Basically, whatever they gave us,
Took it back.
they are already taking away.
Yeah, I know New York, I think HEOP or one other school, one of those type of opportunity-based program, had 1.3 million in cuts, or more. So it's, again, if you just kind of try to do things the same way, it's not going to cut it. We have to leverage technology, leverage the things that we are doing right now, and make it happen with advocacy and leveraging technology in that way. If you don't know, now you can learn about it with the services we mentioned. That wraps up another episode of the Q2 podcast. I had another app that I want to talk about, but I'll save that for a blog or something like that. It's really great. John, any last words about what we talked about and what we should look forward to with Penvisio or the Q2 podcast at all?
No. All I have to say is, if you guys have any questions about any of the apps that we discussed or any of the ideas that we put forward, do not hesitate to email us.
Right.
We can be a part of, making the suggestion, whether you're a director or the staff members. We can help you come up with the way to approach it in a way that the staff and the directors will be
receptive.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, and shorten the learning curve with it too.
Yeah.
You don't have to fumble with it all. Initially, we can help shorten the learning curve for you as well. So it's penvisio.org. You see it in the banner here. You can email John at jmarshall, 2 L's, at penvisio.org. Myself at jlopez at penvisio.org. And we look forward to seeing you in the next episode of the Q2 podcast, sponsored by Penvisio. Thanks a lot for joining us, and we'll catch you guys next time. See ya.
See you guys later.